Okay, looks like I'm live. Good evening, everybody. It is the weekend again, so it's time for another live stream. I don't actually plan these live streams ahead of time. I just wake up and see if my connection is good enough, and right now it is okay. It's been coming and going. So remember, I stream from mainland China, so the connections are always kind of a hit or miss. Hopefully, if it does cut out or if it starts buffering or anything, or you see me freeze, hang in there. It should come back. If it doesn't come back after maybe 15, 20 minutes, stay on. I will do a part two or something of the live stream. Um, that's just one of the things you get from live streaming from mainland China. I really enjoy this format because I get to talk with you directly and interact with you. It's one thing to make videos or do a recording and then answer comments, but to do it in real time is a lot of fun for me. It's kind of therapeutic in many ways. Me being where I'm at, and in addition, I guess you guys can also see what my personality is like in real time as opposed to seeing jump cuts and edited videos. So you can see how unarticulate I am and how I forget what I'm saying often. So cheers, everybody. It is Saturday night at about 11 o'clock in Zhongshan. I am drinking a mudslide. Mm. If you don't know what a mudslide is, it is basically just Kahlua and Bailey's. Uh, Years ago, I was a bartender. I went to bartending school. I wanted to live out my best cocktail movie lifestyle, right? And when I was in the service, I actually worked as a bartender at on the base. When I was in home station Ellsworth, I was in the enlisted club and also the officers club, and that was really good. I was an enlisted troop, so I got to be the bartender for a lot of the officers and the pilots for the B-1 bombers, and I got to know many of those guys. And I also got a lot of FaceTime, a lot of beer drinking FaceTime and liquor with the base commanders and all the visiting dignitaries and everything. And so it was a wonderful experience, and I'll never forget the things that I learned standing on the other side of the bar, listening to the stories that not only these B-1 bomber pilots and bombardiers were telling about, the Afghanistan and Iraq wars, but also the base commanders and the colonels and the generals that would come in and have a beer or two and tell me about other things that can be a little uh, I don't want to say secretive maybe, but you get a couple of fists of not a couple fists, but a couple of fingers of scotch in some of these guys, and they start telling great stories. Nicholas, thank you for joining me, sir. Thank you, everyone else, for joining me. I got a lot to talk about today. First thing I want to say is I have a new light. So you can see it in my glasses there. It's a cheap little $20 little circle light. Actually found it at a store and I set it up like 5 minutes ago. So hopefully the lighting is a lot better. Uh, my camera situation, I downloaded the a new app to use my old iPhone. This is the iPhone 7, but it's still got a really good camera on it. And I want to use this as my webcam because my webcam on my computer is only a 780 and this is 1080. It's actually 4K. Um, but I couldn't get the app to work, so I have to troubleshoot that the next time. So you've got this image. Hopefully it's a little bit better and it'll continue to get better. First thing and foremost, uh, I was recently accused of being well, I'm always accused of being a government shill, but of a liar and being selfish. And I'll leave that to you to decide if my videos and what I say here on this platform is the truth or not. But those who know me know that what I am saying is my truth, and everyone has a different truth. And um, there are certain things that I'm not allowed to talk about. As a guest in this country, there are certain topics and certain issues that is best for me to avoid. Now, that's not me being untruthful. That is me being a good guest. And I've said it before. If I and I get messages from friends, from family, from all of you asking me to uh, talk about these things or try to make me aware of certain things that are going on here in the country, as if I'm ignorant to it. I'm definitely not ignorant to it. Um, I know what's going on in the world. I know what's going on in this country, but I don't go to a neighbor's house and critique their furniture. It would be considered rude, and that's also not what I want my content to be about. My videos are about me, about my life, my vlogs, and I try to make each vlog kind of like its own little mini movie. I've always studied movies, and I'm getting better at it. I still have a long way to go. This is a creative outlet that I don't think anyone can ever master, and that's the challenge, and that's the wonderful thing about it that all of us content creators really love. It's a continuous process of improvement, and every week I try something new, and I learn a new skill, and I try and incorporate that. So, Nicholas, we'll get to your questions here. Yeah. Um, Fernando. Yeah, very, very sad to hear about your schools, brother. But I liked your attitude. I played it in our little interview. That interview, by the way, there was about almost 2 hours of raw video that I had to edit down. It was a lot of it was ruined. The bad audio. I was just using my little action camera to film most of it, and it kind of got me learning. Okay, if I'm going to do more interviews, I should invest in like a mic, a lapel mic. One thing at a time, though. I just got the light today, so. But I think it was a wonderful thing, and Fernando, I got to give it up to you for having such a great attitude with regards to, losing your business after 15 years, And one of the most valuable things in that video that I was able to keep was what you said about, I think your partner actually said it to you, but you articulated it very well, is that you have these skills that you have learned, these skills that you have accumulated over all this time and all this experience that you can very easily start it back up if you want to. But you're a smart guy, and my father actually commented and said you're a good businessman. So getting that out of him is really good. He would know. How are things going? Nicholas says, also very sorry to hear about your friend's school business shutting down. Yeah, that's Fernando. I like you, so I don't care, Paul. You're a decent person. Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah. If you hear a lot of noise around here, it's because here at the college, they've actually started some very heavy construction over the last couple of days. And just outside my window here, you've got large dump trucks and backhoes and front loaders going back and forth with a lot of dirt. Now, I live up on a hill, and one of the first things they're doing is they're tearing down a retaining wall and actually going to rebuild the retaining wall and extend the platform out and build a basketball court there. It's just one of the projects. They've got massive towers that they're going to be building all around my apartment. So for the next year, the noise here, day and night, is going to be ridiculously loud. But so far, not so bad. I can still sleep at night. It's not too bad. But I had to move my car. My car was parked perpendicular in the street. You back it in, but I'm the only one here, so all these 4 or 5 dump trucks trying to maneuver around my car, so I had to just go park it down, not off campus, but on the lower part of the campus. So going back, if you watch my videos and you're wondering if I'm giving you the full truth, well, I'm giving you my full truth, and it's my channel, and that's what so many people want me to talk about other issues that are going on here in China, and we'll get to a couple of them today that are fine, but there are other issues that I'm not free to talk about, nor do I really want to talk about, because I don't want my channel to be about that. So Bear with me, and if you want me to talk about something, and I'll respectfully say no, thank you. It doesn't mean that I dislike you. It just means that there's other topics that I prefer to talk about. Okay, so let's see, Corey. If you were still at Metzen and your contract was coming up for renewal, would you be angling for a significant raise based on the possible labor market constraints? That's a very good question, and a lot of English teachers here in country are faced with this issue right now. Do we take advantage of the situation, ask for more money? Is it appropriate to ask for more money? I'll leave that up to you. I thought long and hard about when my contract here at the college is renewed about asking for more money, and I haven't decided yet, to be honest. There's definitely a demand for it. The demand is there. They need my services, and I could take advantage of that and ask for more money. I have other endeavors that I'm involved in here. By the way, we'll talk about money today too. The college pays me a salary, but I only work about 10 hours a week, 7 months a year, even though I get paid year round, even when I'm not working. But you can imagine if I'm only working 10 hours a week, that my aggregate salary is quite low. My per hour compensation as an English teacher is quite high. It's one of the highest you can imagine for university level English teacher. But on an aggregate basis, because I'm only working 10 hours a week, you can imagine it's quite low. So with everything else shut down and all my other endeavors that I'm involved in, not just here in China, but back home too, I have lost an insane amount of income. And it hurts. It definitely hurts. And I'm struggling just like everybody else. One of the lessons I learned from Fernando was that these are opportunities to work on other things and pursue other endeavors. So utilize your time wisely. One of the things that I'm trying to do is with this with this channel. But I think that here's the thing. If I think that the salaries are going to go up, organically, because if you're coming up for contract renewal, and you can look at other places. You can say, well, how much are you offering me? Then you go to another center. How much are you offering me? And then you can leverage that. You can do it that way. If you just go and say, hey, can I have more money because you need me? I'm not sure that is a great way of trying to get more money and taking advantage of the situation. But you can explore other opportunities. I mean, in a free market, that's fine. And I think that's probably a better way to go about doing it, rather than just say, hey, pay me more money because you have nobody else. That's just my personal opinion. You do it your way. I'll do it my way. Please say, I will, definitely, Fernando. Thank you. Has your college started rehearsing emergency procedures for when it restarts? Matthew, great question. The security guards here have been on top of it, and they are doing certain different things. I see them gearing up for more people. There have been more people coming onto the campus. For months, it was just me. And now the administrators and directors, and now I'm starting to see a couple of teachers come on a daily basis. And there's also a lot of construction workers here right now because some of the teaching buildings are getting refurbished, and also the heavy construction that we got going on all around me. So, and in addition, many of the students are coming back, but they're getting personal items out of the dorms and then leaving again. They're not staying. As far as people living here on the campus, it's security guards, it's me, it's the guy right above me, and there are 2 other teachers that have moved in. Also here in faculty housing, which is my building, basically. Yeah. So there's a total of about 4 teachers currently living here, but they don't live here every day. Some days they're here, some days they're not. So right now it's Saturday night. I'm the only one here, me and the heavy construction worker guys. We'll talk about college starting here in a little bit. Good answer. Just don't pretend to not hear the question like that doctor from the WHO. I'm all for WHO being investigated. I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with asking questions and trying to get answers. But taking away their funding during this time is a massive mistake, in my opinion. The WHO is not one person. It's a massive organization that helps the entire world and many nations. And many nations need them. So, after all this is done, we can look back and try to find the answers. But right now is not the time to do that. There's more important things in the world. Everyone smash that thumbs up and try to boost his channel to be another source of income. Thank you very much. Yes, I I have never asked for money. In any of my videos, you'll never see me ask for money. You'll never see me ask for a thumbs up or to subscribe. It's just, and every tutorial, YouTube tutorial out there says you have to have a call to action if you want your channel to grow and you want to make some money, right? So you always have to do a like, comment, subscribe, or you hear that on every YouTuber channel. I have never done that, not once, except right now. So let me just put that out there. I just opened up a Patreon account maybe 1 hour ago. It's brand new. And in my regular vlog videos, because they're about life in general, I would never mention it. But there is a link in all upcoming videos, and I will tell you about it now just because I'm launching it. If you feel like you'd like to support me, that would be wonderful. And all that money, any money that I do get, I don't care if it's $1 or $10, doesn't matter. It will all go back into this channel. And you have my word on that. I'm not going to use it to go chase women. I'm not going to use it to go out and get drunk on the weekends. It's not the type of guy I am. What I want to do is develop this channel, and that includes the new light, new cameras. As you guys see, I need a new camera. My camera's kind of jumping all around a little bit. My editing software is a free off-the-shelf software, and it doesn't support 4K. It'll play 4K, but then it crashes. So I'd like to get real good quality editing software, and I've gotten to the point with my editing where I can learn some new techniques, basically, and get into more professional editing. And that's where I'd like to go with it. But yeah. Thank you all for watching and supporting me. I don't make very much money on this. I'm lucky to make $10 a month. Recently, I've had a little bit of a jump, which is great, but $10 a month will not buy me a new camera. And as you guys know, I like to stay in 5-star hotels and travel a lot. And when I do that, I make videos about it and I share it all with you. But and even though I do get heavy discounts when I travel, it still costs money. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that, guys. Some more questions. Okay, great. I love this. Great. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Wow, I got a lot of people on. This is wonderful. Let's see. Are you feeling nervous going back to work after such a long break? Nicholas, yes, I am. I haven't been in the classroom for over 3 months. And I remember last summer when I was out of the classroom for 3 months, I came back and I was a little nervous, because if you don't use your skills, it'll come back really fast. But if you don't lose it, you kind of lose. If you don't use it, you kind of lose it, right? And so I am a little bit nervous. I won't lie, but I'm sure it'll all come back. As far as mentioned in one of my vlogs that they want me to start teaching online. I'll talk about that here right now. This whole time, they basically said, I'm an oral English teacher. My lectures there's no way you can do it online. Don't worry about it. You still get your salary. And when the students come back, you can go back into the lecture hall. Just last week, they mentioned, no, we'd like you to teach online now. So, and they were pretty serious about it. They basically, it wasn't a threat necessarily, but they said, we're worried that you won't make your contractual teaching hours. And I took that as like, look, you got to do something for us, or we're not going to pay you. So, and that's fine. I mean, I guess I'm lucky enough to at least still have a job because I have so many people who have lost their jobs, continue to lose their jobs. Another friend of mine lost his job today, just today, a teacher. But so we had meetings all week. We tried to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? They wanted an insane amount of work that was be impossible. My colleague is stuck in England. He can't even come back to China, and his internet connection is not good enough to do live streaming. All the platforms that they use here at the college are difficult in that the other teachers had maybe 6 weeks of tutorials and lessons to learn how to do it, whereas me, they want me to start doing it in 3 days. It's not going to work. So we come up with another thing. So basically, what I did is I recorded my first lecture. I did it here, and then I went out into the city and recorded the lecture there. But it's an oral English lecture, and it requires a lot of choral drilling. And choral drilling only works if I can have real-time feedback from the students because I can listen. And I listen to the chorus, and as I walk around the classroom, I can hear, okay, this section over here is not doing it. Do it again, repeat after me, kind of thing. And that's one of the teaching techniques for large classroom choral drilling, oral English. But you can't do that on a live stream, especially when my classes are 100 plus students, and there are maybe 2,000 students in all. Not to mention assigning homework and all that would be impossible too. So we've come up with a solution. I think it's okay. We're having technical difficulties still, but I hope to get all that worked out soon. Okay. John, good to see you, buddy. Thank you for joining me as well. Have you ever thought about being online adjunct since you have an MBA? No, I haven't, Corey. That's an interesting point. Being an online adjunct. Maybe. I've never looked at that. I'm not a big fan of teaching online. I really, really don't like the idea. But maybe in time, I can do that. I'll look into that, Corey. It's a great idea. Let's see. You changed your name, Schwan. Get some students to make a shit ton of accounts and subscribe to you. I don't want ghost accounts, but yes, more subscribers would be great. More watch time would be wonderful. You're now on Patreon. Yes, please, Nicholas. Again, I will never ask for money. I will never ask for subscription or thumbs up in any of my vlog videos. It's not a conducive environment for it. But here on a live stream, sky's the limit. Right? I am using DaVinci Resolve and editing videos. It's free and professional. I actually prefer it over Adobe Premiere. Interesting. So DaVinci Resolve, maybe I'll look into that. I use Shotcut. The interface is quite simple and easy to master. It's actually got more features than I use. I'm colorblind, so color correction is impossible for me. But I've heard DaVinci. I have a couple of YouTubers I know that use DaVinci. How's the video content for the school? How far along are you? How's the adaptation coming? I've got the first week's worth of content completed. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to work the homework. They want me to do weekly feedback for all the students. We're talking thousands of students. That's impossible. I mean, the time doesn't thing. And I showed them the math and said this is an impossible time suck. But they continue to want some kind of feedback, some kind of evaluation. And we're working on that now. I have a meeting early tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to see if we can work out some kind of system to where we can do some feedback. Oral feedback is very difficult for large groups. It's not a gap fill multiple choice question kind of thing. That would only be conducive to a listening exercise, but a speaking exercise, you have to have someone live listening. So we're working on that still. Things are coming along, basically. I'm not sure about 4K though. I'm only doing 1080p. Yeah, 1080p is fine, but I did hear recently that if you release your videos in 4K, the YouTube algorithm likes that better. You know, it's but it definitely eats up memory. I'm hearing some schools have non-Chinese staff abroad. It's difficult for them to get approval to reopen from local bureaus. They want to know the situation for all staff to local bureaus. Uh, I shared last week that the Guangdong provincial government has a schedule for reopening all the schools here. However, they have not released kindergartens and private institutions yet. We're still working on that. The rumor that I keep hearing is about the same time as the colleges, so mid to late May, which means about 4 months that these private institutions have been closed. So those who have the financial backing and can stick it out will be just fine. But most of the mom and pops, they didn't make it. Nicholas, I was your first Paul. What? You're my first Patreon? Did you just Patreon me, Nicholas? Remember, I don't have like tiers or what do they call them, rewards. I haven't figured all that out yet. I literally just made this page like right before I went live today. but but if you did, thank you very much, man. I'll try and figure out some kind of content that I can share via Patreon that that will be exclusive for that crowd. I really haven't figured it out yet. Hey, Rojo, quick question. What's the Chinese media saying about the whole thing? And are you getting the U.S. sources? Or is all of the censored by the Chinese government? I get every media source in the world. So I think it's very important to get all points of view and then make up your own mind, because no single point of view is 100% correct. And that includes me. You know, when you hear things that happen to me, that doesn't mean it's happening to everybody. So you really have to get your feeds from all different sources, no matter what their political slant or their leanings are or their agendas. So that includes if you're a YouTuber, if you like YouTubing or the YouTube community, it's important to listen to people who are very, quote unquote pro China, I guess, and sing the praises. But also listen to those who are very critical of China. And the truth is in the middle somewhere. And I try to be as objective as possible. But again, this is my truth. And what happens, and I've always said this, what happens to me here in China doesn't necessarily is the same thing that happens to everyone else. It's so many factors and variables that go into life here. Such a massive country and a massive zeitgeist. It's impossible to just know exactly what's going on from one source. So I get all the U.S. sources, all the way from MSNBC to Fox News, even the little guys. I love podcasts. I do a lot of watching YouTube. And many of the YouTube channels that talk about China are extremely agenda driven. That doesn't mean that they don't have value. It just means you have to listen to it and understand what their motivations are. In grad school, I studied leadership and leadership theories. That's what my master's is in. And a big part of that is motivational theory. And so when you understand someone's motivations in life and business, then you can pretty much get them to do anything you want. And that's the essence of leadership. I'll talk about the rules of leadership some other time, but motivation theory is a huge part of that. So when you dive into the language that people use, and becoming an English teacher has been very helpful with this too. When you dive into the language and certain adjectives and degree adverbs that people use, as well as this different types of euphemistic language that people use when they talk about these things, you can really quickly ascertain what they're trying to accomplish and the message that they're putting out there, what their agenda is. And that's fine. That doesn't mean you should discount what they're saying. It just means they're saying it in certain ways, and then you watch another source, they're saying it a certain way, and then you apply a little critical thinking and make up your own mind. Oh God, there's so many. Okay. Because you get them to evaluate themselves. That way they reflect on their own flaws. That's the idea uh, of of oral English. You're an English teacher. You know that, Mark, right? uh, I don't know how I would accomplish that in an online setting with the portal they have, though. Um, I'm completely at a loss when it comes to that. Would you consider Stephen Area a prophet? He seems to have prognosticated recent events fairly accurate. No, I like Stephen. He's a good guy. He's very hyperbolic. He's kind of a conspiracy theorist, and he'll tell you that he's a conspiracy theorist. He's a very smart guy. He's got a very interesting way of looking at the world, and but no, I don't agree with everything he says. And he's been wrong about many, many things. And the thing about him is, wonderful guy. Watch his channel. I'm a big fan, but he'll say one thing and have a direction and a focus, and then 6 months later he flips it around and says, no, fuck that, I'm doing something else. I have posted videos for a few years. I think I have like 400 subscribers just doing things around the house. Yeah. I think you need 1,000 subscribers and something like 40,000 watch time minutes per month, and then you can monetize. But what's the average monthly cost of living in your city for a middle-class lifestyle? It depends on what you consider a middle-class lifestyle. It's very subjective. But here in Zhongshan, I live in Zhongshan, which is one of the 5 dragons of the Pearl River Delta. You got Shenzhen, Dongguan, Guangzhou, Zhongshan, Zhuhai. And if you want to add Foshan to that, you go ahead. And Zhongshan is the most affordable city of the 5. It's the least developed. And when I say that, it's 3.5 million people here, right? But I think we're like, us and Zhuhai are the only cities that don't have like a metro system. They're building one, but it's definitely the least developed and very affordable place to live. The prices have been shooting through the roof, especially with a lot of the infrastructure projects that they're building to connect the Pearl River Delta together. You guys know about the Zhuhai-Macau-Hong Kong Bridge. That's just one of them. But even though nobody uses that bridge, but there's another bridge, a tunnel that they're going to be building from Zhongshan directly to Shenzhen, to nearby the airport there. And they've started constructing that. And so there's a lot of real estate speculation going on especially on the east side of town. And because they're assuming with the prices what they are in Shenzhen and the huge difference that they are in Zhongshan, if it's a 1-hour commute across the bay via that tunnel, you're going to start to see. So if I had money to invest in real estate, I would probably put it here in Zhongshan. I think it's got nowhere to go but up because we are the most affordable place. As far as food goes, it's a little bit cheaper, but mostly comparable to the rest of Guangdong, I guess. Yeah. If you're going to share truth about China, then I'll be your Patreon as well. Well, remember, man, it's my truth. So, on Patreon, you can say anything you want. That's yes and no. It doesn't mean I will say anything I want because that's not the content that I want to put out. I want to put out my truth. The truth is not always in the middle. On one side is... move on from that one. I'm not sure if it helps, but for your class assignment, you could have a quiz of 3 audio recordings, and the students have to choose the best one for guidance is given on each one as feedback. That's Matthew. That's kind of the idea that we have. We put together this little spreadsheet. We have some videos and take out a few words and say, okay, which word goes here? Which word did you hear? But that's not an oral feedback. That is a listening lesson. That is not a speaking lesson. So to give feedback on a speaking lesson is much, much different and much harder to evaluate. Hi, Paul. Did you get your residence approved yet? No, I did not, Jenny. My residence permit is up for renewal this week. Actually, next week. I'm supposed to start it next week. I have 3 months. I have until the end of July, really. So Uh, it should be coming up pretty soon, though. I'm not concerned about it. I have 3 on my Patreon and don't mind a fourth. What do you do in China? Kick the foreigners out? Stay in Asia or go back to the U.S.? They won't kick the foreigners out. Um, if they ever kicked me out, I'd just go back home. But uh, they won't kick the foreigners out. I'm pretty comfortable saying that. Here on the campus, I'm still on restrictions. I'm still only allowed off the campus once per day, which is fine. There's been a lot of, in the news every day they always find, 3 new cases, 2 new cases. And Guangdong seems to be the new hotspot, which is maybe an hour north of here. So they're still on low alert, but there are a couple places in Guangdong that are on medium alert, and they've got their flags up. They're watching. They're trying. They don't want this to come back, but every day, and the big thing nowadays seems to be asymptomatic. They're really focusing on finding asymptomatic cases. Talked about construction, online teaching experiences. Talked about that. I can't go home to see my family. That's a big issue for me. There are some things happening back home that I really, and under any other circumstances, I would be on the first flight home. But there are no flights, and definitely no flights that I can afford. And if I do go home, I can't come back. And that's a hard decision for me to make at this point. It's really a cost-benefit analysis I have to make in my head. Is the situation serious enough? It's something that's hard to think about, but these are some things that we are thinking about, all of us here in China right now. One thing is for sure, I have not been busy for the last 3 months, but this summer, I expect to be extremely busy. I really do. So all of my travel plans, I was going to do a 1-month road trip in Guizhou. I was really looking forward to that. I was going to do a couple weeks out in Yunnan and do, Kunming, Shangri-La, Dali, and Lijiang. And that's been thrown off. I was going to do Xi'an, Huangshan, and Beijing, and that's all been put off. Now I have no idea when I'm going. It seems to me that personality is a major component of being an effective ESL teacher in a training center. The experience is key. Most ESL teaching supervisors tend to disagree with this. Experience is very important when you teach. I know that. I've been teaching for a few years now. When I was first doing it, I was terrible. And in many ways, I still am terrible. I got a lot more to learn. But I'm a much better teacher now because I have the experience, and especially experience with teaching. I live in China, and they teach in China. So teaching a Chinese student, I have that experience, and so it's very unique compared to teaching, say, Spanish speakers English. There's many skills and techniques that are crossovers, but you can really focus on other things. The language barrier, comparing the 2 languages and trying to work with that. What would you do if you went back to the U.S.? Teach or something else? I would probably teach. I have other opportunities that I can explore back in America, but I love being a teacher, and I would just probably teach. I would probably go back to South Dakota and teach in South Dakota in a rural setting in the Black Hills. That's honestly what I would probably do. I used to live in Zhongshan from September 2016 to January 2018. And that area around Lihe is awesome. I am in Guangzhou, but I do look forward to coming back to Zhongshan every now and then. Yeah, return home, Matt. So Lihe is kind of the center of town. That's where I usually hang out. Hope your family stays healthy. Thank you, Sam. And China will not kick you out. I don't think China would kick me out, unless I do something really stupid. How do you feel about the extra layers of scrutiny entering buildings and malls at the moment? If you were just referring to altogether, I'm fine with it. You just take your temperature and you go in. My biggest concern is one day I might catch a cold and have a little temperature, and all of a sudden I'm not allowed to go anywhere, and they stick me in quarantine somewhere. Even if I test negative, they don't. They're gonna do that. That's my biggest fear with that. I also noticed that, like, I go to the gym, and the gym is very, very cautious. They only allow a certain amount of people in. You have to have an appointment to get in there. They scan your temperature. You write down your name and everything, and you do the app on your phone, right? Uh, I've noticed that most of the places around town are not even checking the app. They just scan your temperature and you go right in. And that's here in Zhongshan. I was in Xiaolan today at a mall, not Xiaolan, Dongfeng, which is across the river from Xiaolan. And I was at a mall for lunch, and the guy was supposed to be taking temperatures, but he was just too busy playing with his phone, and he wasn't paying attention to anybody, and people were just going right in. And a lot of people weren't even wearing masks. So that's Dongfeng. Here in the center of town in Zhongshan, everyone wears a mask, and they're very strict on taking temperatures. And I'm fine with that. Um, I bought a $3,000 one-way flight last week back to America from China, and it was very painful. Corey, yeah, the 3 grand is actually cheap. I thought they were a lot more expensive than that, and there are not many. I know next month they're supposed to open it back up and you have more flights and a lot cheaper. But you can buy a ticket right now, one way, something like 5,000-6,000 RMB from Guangzhou to Los Angeles on Southern China Southern Airlines. But that doesn't mean that that flight's actually going to fly. It'll probably just be canceled. You get your money back. Don't you think you'd be bored to death living in America after being in China? No, I don't. I don't get bored very. I have this theory that if you are ever bored, then you're a boring person. There's always something you can do. I was thinking about that. And I love the Black Hills of South Dakota, and I love America. So I don't think I would ever be bored. It's hard to be bored in America. I got that way from living in Southeast Asia for a while. It's a very exciting place to be here. That's for sure. Um, it's warm at the moment. I freaked out a Boan today because my arm and must have riding my bike in the sun. Really? Did you did you scan it too hard? Those little temperature things, those little guns, they're now really small. They're like this small, and they just kind of scan your arm here. Um, I've been temperature all over the place, and it's never the same. They're definitely not accurate at all. It's just cursory, just go around in. Half the times they just do this and they don't even look. They just and they go right in. So it's not consistent. All right. Talk about real quick. Let's talk about, and then I got some articles I want to share with you guys. So we're coming up on about the halfway point. So real quick, stimulus payments. If you're an American, all Americans are getting a stimulus payment. I'm having a hell of a time trying to figure this out as living abroad. I am entitled to the stimulus payment. That doesn't mean I'm going to spend it in China, by the way. It goes into my American bank account. But filing taxes has been difficult for me because there's certain forms that I use for my taxes I can't e-file. So I have to, and I do my taxes myself. I don't have a tax preparer. I have a lot of history of preparing taxes, so I can do it myself. But it looks like what I'm going to have to do is, because the last couple of years I had no tax liability because foreign income exclusion, right? So I had no refund and I didn't have to pay. So I didn't include my banking information on my last couple of tax refunds. So everyone's getting a direct deposit. They're going to send me a check to my South Dakota address, which I can't access. I can't go home, and I don't have any family, or I have friends, I guess I can ask, but that's asking them a lot to go pick up my stimulus check. So I'm trying to work that out right now, but it's the best thing for me, I think I need to do is just fill them out here in China, FedEx it. It's like $50 to FedEx it to the IRS, but I think I'm still just going to get a paper check like 3 months from now. Someone asked me recently, is it dangerous in China? No, it's not. It's not dangerous here. Okay, a couple more comments and we'll go into today's articles. Matthew says, if you get your new residency permit, it will be issued after March 28th, so you should be able to return. Visa issues after March 28th are not subject to the entry ban. That's a good point. It's a residence permit, it's not a visa. So that's a very, very good point. Will they let me back? I don't think they will, Matthew. But I can double check on that. I don't know the answer for sure. Don't you think you'd be bored to death living in America after being in China? No, I won't, Mark. I'd be just fine. Everywhere I go, I'm a happy guy. And where I want to go is one of the most beautiful places on earth, the Black Hills of South Dakota. I left part of my soul there. And if you saw my walkabout that I did last summer, I spent a couple days in the Black Hills camping. And you can see just how gorgeous and iconically beautiful it is there. I would have no problem living there and hiking and trail running in those trails and fishing in the rivers and living a quiet life. And in fact, that's where I plan on going as an old man. I'm not old yet. I got the 3rd degree. See. What kind of car do you drive in China? I drive a 2012 Great Wall Haval H6. I've got a video of me buying it, and then I did a walk around of it. It's a great car. A lot of people said don't buy a Chinese car, but if you were to buy a Chinese car, to buy the Haval, and I'm very glad that I did. It seems to be a pretty good quality. It's not a BMW. It's not a Honda or a Toyota, but it does just fine. It's got 100,000 kilometers on it, so about 60,000 miles. 8 years old, and it looks good. The paint is good. It's clean. It runs great. Really no issues. My only concern right now is when I run the air conditioning, it saps a lot of the power out of the engine. It's got a small little 4-cylinder turbo engine in it. It's definitely not it's a crossover. It's not an off-roady. It's not a beefy vehicle, but it's comfortable. It gets me around town pretty good. I can watch a DVD movie in the dash as I drive. The stereo system sucks, but it's just fine for what it's actually more than what I planned on buying. I planned on buying just a beater, because I just wanted something to get around town. But and it was cheap. It wasn't expensive, and I'm very, very happy with it. It's not fun to drive around. It's just normal, but I'm very impressed with the quality of it. The engine's very clean, and it's a solid vehicle. The brakes are good, tires are good. The engine is great. It's going to need a new clutch. Clutch is old. I think it's the original clutch. And I know in the next probably 40,000 kilometers, I'll need to do a timing belt change out. But thank God that mechanic labor is very cheap here. So getting that kind of stuff done is pretty inexpensive here. How have you? I'm sorry if I'm missing some of these comments. There's a lot of them. Thank you, everybody, by the way. How have you given any thought to filing for unemployment, even though it may be unethical? Claiming you're looking for part-time work seems to qualify most people. No, of course not. I have a job. I don't need a. Well, it's not going to happen. Saw Jayo Nation today, and he looks very sad and very alone. Really? Matt is done me a great solid over the last couple of months, and all the people who watch Matt's show that came over to my channel have been some of the most gracious people I've ever seen on my channel. The comments that they leave. I think Matt's still trying to adjust to China and the differences, because he went back to America and now he's back here, and it's a much different place than it was 6 months ago. China is. From Toronto, Canada. Have always enjoyed your narrated videos. Also appreciate your candor and impartiality and full disclosure. Thank you, Julie. I appreciate that. I do my best. Thank you for watching me. With people, but totally alone and sad. Really? I didn't feel that way. I saw him in his little 4 YouTuber video thing today. He seemed pretty upbeat to me. I must have missed something. China isn't dangerous, but then you could be walking along the pavement on day and guy from food place suddenly throws an empty frying oil container across and rubbish, and it's a near miss. And you walk into the street, get hit by a bus too. Yeah. Do you want to get married someday? Absolutely not. That's a topic for another time. I really don't like discussing my personal life, but I'm not the marriage type. I never have been. Okay, let's move on to... Thank you, everybody. Let's move on to some of today's articles, shall we? Okay. So... This has been talked about a lot lately. The Wuhan revises COVID-19 death toll by 50%. People are saying, oh, they're lying to us. And I really don't see it as the government lying. When I look at this as crisis management, when people are in crisis management, things get swept under the rug, things get missed, things get misclassified. And this is just them looking back. Now that they have a moment to breathe, they have the time to kind of come back and say, okay, we missed this and this and this. Now, is this everything? Maybe not. Maybe it is. Nobody knows. But I think people are running with this a little bit too much and saying it was, proof that China's been lying to you the whole time or not giving you all the information. They might not be giving you all the information, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're lying. That just means that they don't know themselves. I don't think anyone really knows. Not in this country, not in America, nowhere in the world does everyone know everything that's going on here. If you claim to know, well, this number here and this number there, and oh my God, look what's going on in New York, and only this amount of stuff happened in Wuhan. If you try to compare it like that and say and come to the conclusion that nobody's being 100% honest, then that's a false equivalent argument, because they're two completely different places with two completely different cultures and peoples and two completely different responses. Is New York accurate? Who knows? Is Wuhan accurate? Who knows? Is that really important right now? I don't think it is. So that's all I want to say about this. Guangdong confirms 30 new cases. This was today. This is from GIC expat. Asymptomatic total is now, and it's a lot. So with this, we'll talk about what happened this week here in Zhongshan. And you can read it on your own here. Everyone knows what was going on in Guangzhou with the African community there, and it was disgusting, and there's no excuses for it. And they play the video of the man walking into McDonald's, and there was a sign there, and that doesn't mean that that's happening at every McDonald's. That doesn't mean that's happening at every restaurant. However, it's still not a good thing. Of course, I think we all can agree it was a disgusting moment. But what did happen, and I have to call out, is earlier this week, or over the last weekend, they started putting all Africans into quarantine. And that was happening here in Zhongshan too. Every single one that I know of. And it doesn't matter if you were white or black, if you had an African passport, back into quarantine you were going. It was kind of a shock. And these are many people had never left, many people who had tested negative, and we couldn't figure out why they were doing this. And at the same time, other expats and nationalities were being visited. We're talking Europeans and people from Great Britain, people from Poland, were getting knocks on the door saying, "Hey, we're here to test you." And these rumors were going around social media all the time, and they kept on saying, "Paul, you're next. Paul, you're next. Get ready." I have not been visited. No one's talked to me about any of this personally.